Greetings and welcome to the newest episode of the Rice Crypto Show. I'm your host, Rice, and today I am joined by liberty activist and fellow content creator Joël Valenzuela. He is the host of the Digital Cash Network. We're going to be learning more about him, his channel, and how he's been living on cryptocurrency since 2015. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on today's show, I am joined by a returning guest, but he hasn't been on the show for about 3 years, so I wanted to bring him back on. I wanted to highlight what he's doing in the cryptocurrency space and also talk about something that he's been, I would say, preaching for several years, which is the idea of living on cryptocurrency. Joel, I appreciate you taking time to come back on the channel. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a perfect, nice, crisp fall day here in New Hampshire. And yeah, just living the dream.
The Free State Project there in New Hampshire. Yeah. I'm going to have a link down below for that first conversation that we had together. It is on my Odyssey channel, Living Unbanked and Advocating for Cryptocurrency. Mr. Joël Valenzuela, he is a liberty activist, a content creator. He's the host of the Digital Cash Network, which will share the YouTube and Odyssey channel. And he's been living on cryptocurrency since 2015. We talked about it, like I said, 3 years ago, and I thought it was important then. But with everything that's been happening this year and what I think potentially could be happening over the course of next year is these bank failures that we've been experiencing and question of the future of the dollar. So I think it's more important that people are aware of alternatives. I'd like to think that you're kind of an agorist. Am I mistaken with that, or am I correct?
Historically, yes.
Okay.
And more so recently, more recently, not as much, just because I'm trying to explore things that work for like regular people. You know, like for example, if someone, like not everyone is just ready to drop off the grid entirely. And I'd rather people who are on the grid stay on the grid but use crypto than the opposite, where they just, you know, they just stay on the grid and stay on off on fiat, and then that's it. So there you go.
So it honestly sounds like since we haven't like really spoken about this in a few years, that your concept might have changed a little bit. Because if I wasn't mistaken, before you were like, no, it's crypto or nothing. And it seems like now you're kind of, I wouldn't say conceding, but you're looking at how everybody else interacts. And I know it's not, because this is one of the things I'll tell you, like when we talked about this even 3 years ago, it's intimidating when you think about the idea of just living on cryptocurrency and not using dollars, not having a bank, not using any of the tools that most people are utilizing in today's society. And when we started seeing those bank failures at the beginning of this year, Joel, I was suggesting that people do one of two things. And I was trying to give alternatives with it, but it was either completely unbank yourself or do what I've been doing, which is just leave. Well, I encourage people to use credit unions over traditional banks under the FDIC. But if you're going to need to use a bank account, whether it's a credit union or a traditional bank, only leave in the bank what you need to cover your bills. Because I kind of look at it like how you would do an investment. Only deposit what you're willing to lose, considering where we're at. And I've seen so many heard so many nightmare stories from people going to their bank and wanting to withdraw, let's say $4,000 or $5,000 from their account. And the bank is telling them that they had to put in a formal request and wait, for example, 4 to 5 business days just to be able to get that amount. And so I know the idea of living without a bank can be intimidating and hard. So have you, before we get into like describing like what you've been doing with your work, do you have a bank account now?
No, I don't use banks still.
Okay.
I didn't reopen my bank account, and yeah, I just still live on all the other kind of stuff. And as always, like the bit of a disclaimer thing is always, you know, I don't live alone and my wife doesn't live entirely off crypto, but I was living this way before, and I still live like my part of things. And it's still today more than ever, I'm confident it's doable for anyone. Back in, a few years ago when we last spoke, it was doable, but like you had to figure some things out. It took a little like hacking. And now I could in an afternoon sit someone down and be like, here's how you can, if you really hate fiat, you can get rid of fiat. You really hate banks, you can get rid of banks. And, the deeper in you go, the more time I'd probably need to explain all the tools and everything to do that. But still within like a day, I could sit down and just explain the whole thing. And it wasn't that easy a couple of years ago. A few things have gotten better.
Well, that's positive to hear. That's completely positive to hear. So, one, I'm going to have a link down below for that first conversation, all your social media. So I encourage people to check that out. And if they really like what you're talking about with what you do with your content and what you're doing living on crypto, what I really encourage people to do is to check out your channels. Again, they'll be linked down below. You have the YouTube channel, trying to navigate through here. So you have the YouTube channel, Digital Cash Network, again, be linked down below. And then we also have the Odyssey channel, which I know you put a lot of focus on growth on Odyssey. We're both big fans of Odyssey, and not sure about what's going to happen with the future of Odyssey, but I still encourage people to check out the channel, because the more places that you can find us, I think the better. And you never know what's going to happen with the YouTube element. So you've been involved in crypto for a lot longer than you were as a content creator. What made you decide to ultimately become a content creator, and when did you make that decision? And I'm only asking this as a repeat from our first interview because it's been so long and there's so many new people from the channel, since my channel has grown exponentially since well, I shouldn't say exponentially, but it's grown since August of 2020. So yeah, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what made you decide to be a content creator and when you decided to make that move.
Yeah, so I think that we're kind of all content creators to a certain extent. Anytime we interact on social stuff, anytime we go on an interview, anything like that. And I just thought that, so I didn't have a very planned out kind of journey through crypto. I just learned about fiat currency and what a scam it was from a relatively early age, like in my teens at some point. And then when I heard about crypto, that is all I want to do. That's all I want. I really want to get involved in this ecosystem. End of 2015, I'm like, okay, I want to just stop getting paid in fiat. I'll only take work from people who pay me in Bitcoin. And then that's just how it started. And then the one job I could find instantly was like being a journalist for Cointelegraph, because they would pay me in Bitcoin. And there you go. So I did that for a while. And then, by the end of 2016, it was harder to use Bitcoin. So I started mostly using Dash. And then I worked for Dash full time from 2017 to the end of 2019, just, next logical conclusion. And so after that is when I decided I wanted to just, I needed to learn more, right? I needed to get deeper into the entire crypto world. I need to learn more about it. And the best way to learn it is to consume content. And the best way to consume content that teaches you the kinds of things that you want to learn is to make it yourself. And so that's kind of where it is. It's like a teaching tool, because if I have to make a video explaining stuff, I have to learn about the stuff. And if I have questions, probably other people have them too. And if I interview people, I learn from what they have to say. And then it's a continuing cycle. So it's kind of like part of it to deepen my own crypto education, but also to deepen my own connections everywhere else in the world. Because I was kind of really, head down in like a Dash bubble for a long time. And then getting out again but still the same basic idea of I still think it's super important that people use crypto as their primary money and ditch fiat and banks. I think that's a really great direction for humanity to go, but specifically the crypto part of humanity. Then I just, stayed in, learning about that, talking to people, answering questions, all this kind of stuff. And since then, I've met a few other people who are also living on crypto. some of whom have been watching my stuff and that's how they started, but a lot of them who haven't. And I'm working on a video about all these people who are living on crypto that hopefully will be out in a couple days. But yeah, it's been a very interesting experience. And basically, I feel like if I know something, I want everyone, if I know something is valuable, everyone should know it. And also during the process of doing that, I get to learn a lot more.
You know, as you're saying that, I was thinking about that for even for myself. I would say when I started my channel, it was a combination of reasons, but also a way for me to be able to learn a lot more. The one of the first technical type interviews that I had scheduled was Tron Black from Ravencoin, and then I interviewed Ricardo Spagni, Fluffy Pony from Monero, and Tari, and like when I was going to interview both of them, I'm like, what the hell am I going to have? How am I going to have a conversation with these guys? Because I don't understand, I don't comprehend a lot of the coding, a lot of the best way to put it, the nerd talk that it just goes way over my head. But the best way to learn is to actually get involved in these conversations. Now I don't feel inadequate enough. Like I don't feel inadequate when I'm having a conversation with somebody who is smarter than me when it comes to the coding element, because I've been able to learn enough that I can comprehend what's going on, even though I can't do the coding. So I'm glad that you said that, because it's, and I'd like to think that this entire thing, because the technologies still are kind of new, even though Bitcoin's been around for 15 years now, it's still, you know, a learning curve. And we've always, I think, with the way these technologies are advancing, because I've seen so many changes in crypto since 2017, that we're always going to be in that process of learning it, in my opinion. And if you're somebody who thinks you know everything, then you're just a very arrogant individual, is going to be proven wrong, because there's so much technology changes, like how you were talking about the idea before we started recording of sharding. Sharding, I think, was more of a concept in 2016, 2017, not actually being utilized. So to see it being utilized, that's another thing that people would have to learn about. What is sharding? And that is something I like about with what you do as your channel. And if I'm not mistaken, I still kind of feel like you're part of the old guard, keeping the cypherpunk mentality, the privacy matters, things to that effect. And I really appreciate that. What's making you decide to stay as part of the old guard in and become the minority in the cryptocurrency space, where the old guard used to be the majority?
Yeah, well, I have to say, and that's what been one of the biggest struggles for me, has been trying to remain up to date on things, as in try to maintain current, the cutting edge, bleeding edge tech, all that kind of stuff. To do that at the same time as keeping, principles. And the crypto space has not grown linearly, and not even exponentially. I would say it's grown very erratically in different areas, like the digital cash aspect of things, which is what I've been super focused on, has almost taken a few years off since the end of 2016. It's not really taken a few years off, but it's been nowhere near the same kind of level of growth of like the financial stuff, the data stuff, the other kind of stuff, just all over the place. And so I really think that the true potential of cryptocurrency, like if ever you hear a Monero guy talk about stuff, talk about how things, just any Monero Twitter account kind of thing, sounds almost exactly like a Bitcoin one back in the super early days of like 2011, 2012, 2013, maybe 2014, like that kind of era. And so that's why this all matters, is you want uncensorable money that the government specifically, but other people too, but especially the government can't track, they can't censor, they can't manipulate, all this kind of stuff. And the value, the money aspect, the profit will come later. It's secondary of importance. It's kind of like it's more like a validating factor of why this technology means so much for the world. It has nothing to do with getting more fiat. It's so
win Lambo, my friend.
Yes. And that's the founding stuff of crypto. And I would say that obviously when you have people who just more mainstream people popping in, obviously it's going to shift a little bit. But also part of it is let's be super honest. Like Bitcoin abandoned this mission in 2016, 2017, like with the whole scaling thing when the whole block size wars thing hit. Most
You're
people
talking about where the first technical fork that or hard fork that took place with Bitcoin in around August of 2017, resulting in the hard fork of Bitcoin Cash being created.
Yeah, but before that, even because I already was using other stuff, again, mostly Dash, a year before Bitcoin Cash even existed. But I mean, come on, the average, 6 blocks fee, 6 blocks is an hour. To get your Bitcoin through in an hour, it takes $6 on average for a transaction right now. And that's not good, right? For like paying for your coffee or whatever else. And when that happened, I think the vast majority of people involved in the crypto space did not just leave Bitcoin and do other things. They did not do anything like that. They stayed around and they just focused on other things for the last, what is it, 6 years. And so a lot of people who had varying feelings about who was right in the block site, who really cares, but who had varying feelings, stuck around like, well, it doesn't work for digital cash, but at least it can't be inflated, and at least I can't have it confiscated, and at least I can just hold on to it, and it's a good stable store of value. So I'm just going to focus on that and just kind of forget about the digital cash part for a few years. And then all the people who explicitly leave Bitcoin and start focusing on digital cash all are, my project's best. No, my project's best. That one's a scammer. This
we're the next Bitcoin. We're the next Bitcoin.
They start fighting amongst each other. No one ever really gets anywhere. And then you have Ethereum and then all the Ethereum competitors and everything like that just is like, well, digital money, we're going to do a different thing. And so almost the entire space has just been moving into this domain of other stuff. And the OG kind of thing, I think it's going to become super new and sexy in the next couple of years as like the need for it really ramps up. But then also there's just going to be another wave of people coming in who are like, oh, I can use this and no one can censor it. My payments didn't get censored. Yay. And then we're going to get that mass adoption boom. I personally think in the next 2 years, right, 2014, 2015, is when we start to hit early majority kind of adoption status.
You talking about 2024, 2025?
Yes, is when you get early majority.
2014, 2015.
Okay.
I want to make sure we were in the
Sorry, I'm 10 years over because that could have happened.
Am I in the future?
No. Yeah, so that's the next couple of years of when I think things are going to get to where you might see like 5 to 10% of like people paying with some kind of crypto in like a shop or whatever else it is. And then where it's still not, it's kind of like when the first time you saw Apple Pay stickers show up on businesses where like almost no one's using it, but some are. There's a few. Right. Where as opposed to nobody today, kind of. And then in the next 4 years after that or so is when you start to have like the first stages of like mass adoption. And we're getting there. We're getting there. It's just taking a long time, and I think we have to solve some critical issues before things really kind of move forward. But the thing is, I think that also people have been too lost in the woods for a long time because crypto is such a it's such a like Bitcoin caused such a huge leap forward in innovation. And every other blockchain project, every major one, I guess, since then also has reinvented so much crazy stuff that we've been spending a decade just trying to find out where we are. Like, what can we do with this? What is this useful for? What are the possibilities? What's an NFT? Like all this kind of stuff. So now it's kind of time to start focusing that in a little bit more and finding things. But like, for example, I don't think anyone who uses Ethereum, or not anyone, but very few people who use Ethereum think about the fact that they have one address that has their entire financial history that anyone can just like look at for free on a block explorer, just see all the NFTs, including if any of them are like property deeds or anything valuable like that right. They have under that. It's just all there. They want to see every trade they've done, everything. It's just like right there. And they're just like, okay, like, if that was with their documents and their bank accounts, they would freak out. But again, like privacy, and then you have projects like Zcash, which are at the absolute cutting edge of privacy, but are now like hitting or coming through some strong headwinds as far as technical issues from spam attacks and things like that they're trying to like solve and find ways for zero knowledge proofs to really work on mobile devices under high network load and stuff like that. And it's just so many problems to be solved on that side. And those people aren't even talking to these people. And in the meantime, you have like Bitcoin people say, we're going to donate to the Canadian truckers. It's great. And then the government sees everything and just confiscates it. And they're like, wait, it wasn't supposed to happen. It's like, we're learning at an incredibly fast rate and we have so much left to learn, but we're almost there.
I want to pause you with the Canadian trucker thing because I want to distinguish for people that are new to crypto or don't understand how the technology works.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have had that cryptocurrency in a wallet that you controlled your private key, you wouldn't have had any situation, as far as I know, of your funds being frozen. It was all centralized entities like a Coinbase type thing that's in Canada, something where your KYC is attached, your bank account's attached, and they can actually freeze your account because there's that third party, that middleman, that intermediary that technically crypto gets rid of. So
yeah, well, there's that.
Not that it's cool, not that it's cool and it makes it right, but I just wanted to distinguish. It's not as if you're in Canada, Joel, you're part of that trucker brigade, and I'm sending you a donation. I'm sending it to your Canadian equivalent to Coinbase, and you don't possess your private key, and then it came out publicly that I sent money, and then because it's a entity that's centralized, you agreed to terms and conditions that some others in there probably giving them permission to do that. And yeah, hopefully people will start to get away from those third parties and those intermediaries.
Yeah, hopefully. But there's another dimension, which is the privacy dimension. The only reason they figured that out is because they looked on the blockchain and found where all the donations were going to. They found who controlled that, and they just like paid the dude to visit. And even if this guy controls all his own, like let's just say someone controls all his own wallets or whatever, they find out, oh, this is all one person. And then when he's sending, they just link the IP address with that transaction. They're like, I know exactly where he is. And they just swarm him and say, hey, I know that we can't use the blockchain to steal your money, but we're here and we got that $5 wrench. We're going to hit you over the head until you get it. That's why you need privacy. And people don't understand how little privacy they have when using anything, but especially when using crypto. They just think because it's not essentially tied to their identity doesn't mean that you can't easily figure it out if you're some sort of a state level actor or something else. So I think privacy is going to be like security in the future, where you're not going to use a blockchain that you think can be like reversed tomorrow if some crazy guy wants to 51% attack it. Like you're only going to use something you think is safe. And right now people think non-private stuff is safe. It is absolutely not safe.
Well, look at the success of what's happening even right now with Solana. I mean, a blockchain that could turn itself off, and people are talking about this being, the next Ethereum killer. There's always another Ethereum killer. Let's turn the conversation completely over to the living on crypto. You said since I had you on the show before, you said there's been a lot of different things that have taken place to make it a little bit easier for people to live on cryptocurrency. So anything that we're sharing, I'm going to be sharing your affiliate links, referral links down below in the video description so that people can support what you're doing over on your end. And if they're at your YouTube channel and they see right here at the main section where you have links, there's a support the channel link, there's pay bills with crypto link, there's spend crypto, and there's swap crypto. So these are all links that you guys can use, and these be in the video description. So let's talk about living on crypto. How much has changed since August of 2020 to today, and what makes it like how you're able to pay certain things with the different services that you were sharing right here with the links, with Spritz, BitRefill, and using the ThorWallet.
Yeah. So what has changed in general, I'm going to start with the negative part. The negative part is that fewer mom and pop shops around the country and the world the world's a little bit trickier because there has been growth in some areas, but the mom and pop kind of like, oh, this guy takes it into his wallet kind of thing, that's gone backwards. We've had less of that over time. That is a little sad to me because I've missed her like, oh, all these shops in my place, I get to go buy my coffee. I still do. There are still a few, but that's kind of receded. What's gone well has been the I guess intermediary kind of service that has allowed you to spend it in that kind of area has gone way up. Where, for example, so the easiest one to talk about is BitRefill because they've been around forever. BitRefill started as a phone top-up company that let you top up your mobile phones with crypto, and they expanded to gift cards, and then now they have bill pay, eSIM, a bunch of other stuff. So what you can do, so if you just scroll down just a little bit, because I see top.
Well, I was gonna say I haven't looked at this in a minute, and before I thought it was just gift cards back 3 years ago. I think
it is, however. So for example, what I can do.
How far down am I scrolling?
So go up. Just the first 2 rows is all you really need, right? Just for the purposes of this thing. So if we talk about, first off, Amazon, the reason why BitRefill is something I talk about specifically, there's a whole bunch of crypto gift card providers, but the thing about BitRefill is you can, if you're using something like Dash that's instant, or you use like a Lightning wallet or something like that, you can buy a gift card and just instantly get it. So when I go on Amazon, I literally go to checkout, and then I open up a tab for BitRefill, buy a BitRefill Amazon card for the exact amount I'm going to need to check out, and just copy paste that and hit checkout. It's just like over someone who has their credit card in Amazon and they just hit checkout. It's like an extra 30 seconds. Just like pay for crypto, in like the whole thing. The Walmart thing is also, you can buy Walmart gift cards loaded into your Walmart Pay app. They actually give you discounts to do that. So you can, anytime there's a Walmart, you just scan their QR code at the terminal and they give you a little discount. It just checks out right away. It's super easy. And there's a gas station at some of those Walmarts, so you can just fill up your car, and then there you go. The prepaid MasterCard thing is very interesting because you can, again, no KYC, no identity, anything like that, buy a prepaid MasterCard for whatever amount basically you want, with certain limits, right? Up to 500 in, if you want to be anonymous and stuff. And then you just port it over into your Google Wallet and then tap and pay everywhere. Or Apple Pay.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are these virtual credit cards? They don't give you physicals. Yes. Is that why you're putting it out, like porting it over to like Apple Pay or something like that?
Yes. Okay. But basically, with those 3 things, I just sort of breezed through a how to. You can, just with that, you can live 100% off crypto, or other than utility bills and stuff. I guess 100%, like almost 100% off crypto with just those things, without disclosing your identity or anything, just anonymously, right? And that's why I would start there, even though this is a little bit more process involved than other solutions. It's just like right there, I can just tell someone, hey, guess what? You are an unbanked person. You don't have an identity. You're maybe, don't have government papers, whatever. And I know plenty of those people. Here, you can just start using this today if you have crypto. Like bank the unbanked. Bam, right there. So right. If you do this, plus you find your guy to pay your rent or whatever in crypto, if you manage to figure that out, that's 100%. You can just earn a non-crypto, spend it on crypto. This is in the US. There's other countries can work out pretty well too, depending on which country. But the point is, right there, yeah.
With the prepaid MasterCard, any of these can you top it up, or do you have to get another card?
No, you have to get another card. So when you get close to the bottom, you just buy a coffee and round up the tip, and then put another one in there, and there you go.
Can you have more than one virtual card at a time, or only one at a time?
You can have a few in your wallet at least. I usually just go one at a time because I don't like fiat price exposure. I like to just keep it on crypto, and then sometimes I'll just do like a single use kind of a thing where it's like, oh, I need 500. I need this. Buy something that's $300. I'll buy a $300 card, spend it all in one go, and then be done with it. That's the best case scenario, of course.
Okay. No, I was just trying to get a little bit of explanation with some of that, because I think Edge for a minute was trying to offer a prepaid Visa or MasterCard as well, and I'm not sure what took place with that. And we need to have more options like that.
Yeah, that was a let me just can't say too much, but
yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
That was a government thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely would like to get Paul's perspective on what was Paul Pue, the CEO over at Edge, and kind of get his perspective. I definitely don't want to overstep. I just remember something like that being talked about, and the idea of having a prepaid credit card, especially one that you could top off repeatedly, would be great. And then one that, because this is one of the things I was going to ask you, is do you have to sell your cryptocurrency like how BitPay was, and then once you sell your cryptocurrency, you have that amount of fiat available to spend on your credit card, or does it sell at the moment that you're making the transaction and you get to ride the volatility?
So in this case, if you're willing to go through the clunkiness of, buying a new prepaid card and putting it into your phone and stuff, you could just only buy for the exact amount. So basically have like no exposure. It's probably better to just have a little bit of a balance on one, go through it, get rid of it, and just, get a new one every week or so, maybe. Now, if you go to Spritz Finance, that's where things get, less cypherpunk, but a lot more useful, because Spritz also has one of these kinds of prepaid virtual cards. The difference is it's a KYC service, so you do have to tie it to your identity, but you can actually just top up that card anytime. So you don't need to ever get a new card. You just top it up. So it's a lot easier than like the BitRefill card option, but it doesn't have the option to be anonymous. So,
which I don't think anything dealing with the traditional banking system, which would, I think, top up have some sort of tie to that, you can't do without following the U.S. regulatory compliance, or you're just going to be shut down super quick. The other thing I want to remind people is, if any of this sounds enticing to you and you want to utilize these services, then definitely I would encourage you to support my buddy Joel here and take advantage by using the affiliate links, referral links. They're going to be in the video description. So make sure you support my boy and using those links, because as you can see here, you've been invited by a friend, and I did sign up for an account. I didn't do anything except for just sign up for the account. So this is what you'll see on the back end. You'd have to verify your identity, and then gives you your bank transfer. I guess you can connect banks, your debit card, have your addresses. You can buy crypto.
That's very new. So I guess you're going in like whole exchange direction. But the bill pay thing is the number one reason that I got interested in this, because you can pay your mortgage, you can pay your utility bill, you can pay your credit card bill, you can pay any kind of bill with crypto instantly. You hit the pay bill thing, go to pay the bill, scan the QR codes or connect your wallet, and then just pay, and there you go. And what makes this thing so much cooler than something like maybe a Coinbase type thing is Coinbase is like, I'm not going to talk too much smack about Coinbase, because I think that they've done so much for crypto adoption, and I'm super grateful for that, and they're doing their best. But at the same time, it's a custodial platform, whereas Spritz, even though it does have identity requirements, is non-custodial. So this is all from your own wallet. They don't ever touch your money. So you control all your own money, unconfiscatable, and then can just click top up card, and then boom, there you go. Get an extra $50 on your card for the whatever, on there, a couple $100. Or you just go pay your mortgage. It goes right from your crypto wallet. You press a button, you send it out, and your mortgage is paid. You don't have to put it on this platform, and then they have this, and then they do. You don't have to, you can't put it on their platform because they don't allow you to. There's no custodial element at all. So this is the one app, the one living on crypto app, I guess, for the people who are like super normie. They don't want to experiment with juggling gift cards or anything like that. They don't want to, they don't want to do all that. They just want to be like, I'm going to buy crypto off Coinbase. I'm going to hold it. And then when it comes to pay my bills, I'm going to go to this one site, hit pay bill, pay bill, pay bill. And I have that card in my phone wallet. And I just like, oh, it's getting low. Beep, put some more on it. And then that's it. But the two benefits you get over the traditional finance, of course, are one, you don't have exposure to US dollar amounts. you can only have exposure to crypto denominated stuff. So like if you want to hold Bitcoin, you can hold Bitcoin, all your money in Bitcoin. You don't have to worry about money printer go burr, because money printer can't go burr if you don't have any of that. But then the other thing is you have unconfiscatable money. The worst case scenario is Spritz goes down or government forces them shut down or whatever, and you have to worry about finding a new way to pay your bills. But you still have all your money. It's not like when they shut down your bank account, they can take all your money in your bank account too. This is where you have all your money in your Trezor or whatever. The worst case scenario is you just have to find a new way to spend it, but you still keep all your money. And those two things are massive improvements.
Another worst case, being that it is a centralized entity, is that if it was to have some legal issues, that maybe government agents, employees, police officers, law enforcement would have access to the records, which would provide addresses. But again, I think that a lot of times the chain analysis, because when it comes into like what you were talking about as far as privacy, a lot of people may not understand that. And I try to explain the pseudo anonymity. It's not completely anonymous. It's kind of like a fake anonymity. As long as you're not posting up these addresses publicly, sharing them on like a Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, or just DMs and in general, like on Twitter, Instagram, whatever the situation might be. I mean, all that kind of stuff can be viewed upon, and then they can correlate those addresses with your identity. Then it helps with chain analysis, because then they can see where you're sending stuff, where your stuff is being received from. And they can, if you have somebody who's intelligent, and there's a lot of intelligent people out there that do chain analysis, they can start to take all these different breadcrumbs and form an actual event of what took place and identify you. So it is a double-edged sword, because you have everything publicly available, which is one of the reasons why I don't see the argument that the mainstream media and governments want to say that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are used for criminal activities. It just doesn't make sense that criminals would advertise like, hey, this is our business transactions, when they can use cash and not have any record of it.
Yeah, or even just like pay off the right bank.
Now, the only thing I think, and I appreciate these services, BitRefill, Spritz, I appreciate what they're doing, but I want to explain to people too that the reason that these services are having to be used is because the person that you're trying to get the goods from or pay a service for, or whatever the situation may be, is not accepting the cryptocurrency. Otherwise, you could just do this peer-to-peer. So like Spritz is taking the crypto and then paying out in a form of fiat. So when you're doing your bill pay through Spritz, Joel, is it using the debit card, or is it a different service with the bill pay?
It's different because from my understanding, some bills you need like ACH or some kind of way like that to pay for it.
Okay.
And so then Spritz would just do that like instantly as soon as you send.
So it's almost like a convenience store, because there's some convenience stores you can go and pay some of your utilities, and then they also sell debit cards, and you could top up your debit card as well. But they're separate services, but they're all being offered by the same company. That's where I wanted to kind of get a little understanding of that. So that makes sense the way that you explained it with the ACH stuff.
Yeah,
it's basically like bank-to-bank transfer.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. It's just like a convenience thing. For example, like Walmart has a money center, and there's a lot of people who don't have bank accounts that use that to cash their checks, or use that to send money, or pay their child support bills, or whatever. It's all like the world already works a lot in this kind of way for people who are living on the cash economy. So now finally the digital cash economy has kind of a way of doing that. And in the future, I think that the service like Spritz would be able to add in bill pay services that don't need fiat, that will take crypto directly, but just have it all there as like, here's all your bills in one big spot from your MetaMask or whatever you want to use to connect.
Right, make it convenient.
Yeah, and the thing about like, we need adoption to grow. It needs to be profitable in order to do that. And the profit motive for small business or point of sale providers or whatever at this very, very low scale of payments is just not there. Like, how many businesses take crypto around you? Then think about how many of those businesses
None
keep
actually.
yeah,
There's a
and how
couple
many
Bitcoin
keep
ATMs, but nobody around here takes crypto in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that I know of. If I'm wrong, please let me know.
yeah, there could be some, but like, and if you do know one, keep them close, right? You got to know the owner, keep giving them business so the staff remembers how to even use the thing, like all that kind of stuff. It's just such an uphill battle on that, and that doesn't mean you should not do that. If you have a community of people that will frequent businesses and spend crypto, absolutely get them to take crypto directly. Get them to keep it and hold it if you can. But the point is, you scale this way first. You scale the customer base where now you can have a few small businesses, or BitRefill has somewhere like 60 or so employees or so. So it's not that small, but you have a few businesses like this that let anyone live on crypto, even though it's not the most righteous way. People turn their nose up at like, oh, I bought a good or service before the end good or service with my crypto. Boo, like whatever. But the point is, this is how it scales to where anyone can live on crypto, as I said, with just like 2 or 3 apps. And then more people start living on crypto. And eventually there's enough of a user base where if a small business, your local coffee shop, um, if your local coffee shop puts up a sign that says, now accepting cryptocurrencies, they're actually going to get customers paying in that. And so that's kind of the way the adoption thing goes. I think that in the next couple of years, you're going to start to see people paying with crypto a lot more through services such as this, or some like larger, like, hey, Starbucks takes it now, or something like that. Some kind of thing where, it's the bigger kind of businesses, sort of like we've seen in El Salvador. The vast majority of businesses in El Salvador do not accept crypto at all. But the big chains, especially the American type chains, like the Starbucks and McDonald's and stuff, they tend to. And so I think we'll see stuff like that start to happen next couple years. And then it might be in the next 5 years after that, or 4 years or whatever. So like 6 years from now, let's just say, you might be able to go and like Toast or Clover or Square or these other point of sale systems will have like a crypto option. And then you'll start to see, some actual, volume of people paying with that stuff, like maybe 10% of their customers or something will be paying through that. So that's just like a random, I have no data to back this. I'm just going on gut feelings of the way I've seen this whole space move. And yeah, I think we're really poised for uh, a big growth, because I don't hate to be like positive about the fiat system, but the fiat system in the US, and for the most part the developed world, has not really been that terrible in the Latin, like you get to send money. It's, you know,
Oh,
almost no
it's
one gets.
convenient. It's very convenient, but you're also
Mhm.
losing purchasing power too at the same
Yeah.
time. Why is convenient? So your
Yeah,
money's
of
losing
course.
value, and yeah, you of course can send it back and forth to people because it's all just digital on a screen anyway. It's not real. It's a game of make believe that these people play.
Yeah, but the point is, it's getting bad. It's starting to get bad now. Where before, almost nobody, you had to be like a literal political dissident who's probably getting raided by the FBI and stuff like that in order to get your bank account shut down in the past. But now there's a lot of people getting their bank account shut down. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people who can't withdraw money because they don't have the cash to do that. And it's bank collapses are going to be easier. I saw someone on Twitter probably saying that we're probably going to see a lot more bank collapses because it's so much easier to do a run on the bank with like mobile banking. Someone tweets something out and everyone tries to withdraw, and boom, and then we're going to see
Well,
just
technically,
how fragile.
Fed
Yeah.
now technically would allow for that as well. So
Hmm.
the state sponsored PayPal. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's all been set up anyways for a consolidation purpose.
Hmm.
Now, since there's one more application that I wanted you to talk about, because there's
Hmm.
3 different things that you're talking about in conjunction working together. The next one
Yeah.
is the Thor wallet from ThorSwap from ThorChain. You want to
Yeah.
explain a little bit about this, and then I'll also again remind people that there's links down below in the video description with this referral code so that
Mhm.
you guys can support Digital Cash Network and Joel Valenzuela.
Well, thank you very much again. ThorWallet is a Swiss company. that has, I would say this is like the next generation of crypto apps, of custody type things. And the reason, let me just explain real quick the main ingredient that goes into something like this, right? So ThorChain, which if you've been living under a rock, you haven't heard about, but it's a cross-chain like Uniswap, let's just say. That's kind of what most people say. It's a cross-chain automated market maker decentralized exchange. And it's basically a blockchain that lets you swap other cryptos for other cryptos easily. So it's like a digital vending machine where you shove Bitcoin in and then Litecoin pops out, or you shove Litecoin in and Dogecoin pops out, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of for really old school people. It's like what Shapeshift used to be like back in the day when you just, send crypto here, it pops out the other way automatically, except Shapeshift was a centralized company. Since then, Shapeshift is decentralized, and they're now using ThorChain as their back end for all their transactions. ThorChain and other Ethereum and et cetera, DEXs. So basically, what this means is you get native asset for native asset. You don't have to do any of this weird wrapping thing, get like, the wrapped Bitcoin on Avalanche that then you do, like none of that stuff. You just Bitcoin in, Litecoin out, et cetera, et cetera. That's how ThorChain works. And the better part about this is because of this whole system, you can offer a decentralized financial service to real people. Every time people talk about DeFi in the past, for the most part, has been like gambling. And I don't mean gambling, I don't mean to ride it. It's been like real stuff, but it's like all the stuff on like Uniswap, SushiSwap, they're all like Ethereum tokens. And like the only reason you get Ethereum to begin with is to do stuff like that. And so it all works, but it's in a very like kind of like a subset user of cryptos who want to like trade different tokens and see what happens. Whereas people actually hold Bitcoin for their light savings. They actually use Dash to pay for stuff. They actually have Litecoin for when the Lightning Network doesn't work, like always, right? They actually have all these kinds of assets. And so it's an exchange between real world assets. Not that Ethereum tokens aren't real world, but they're a different category. And because of this, you can actually earn interest on your Bitcoin, for example. And you can put Bitcoin in, get like 2-3% APY on that Bitcoin, and you get it out in a decentralized, completely like layer one decentralized kind of way. And so you're starting to have these kind of, you can also take out loans on your Bitcoin and things like that in a completely decentralized protocol kind of a way. That's the kind of stuff that starts to get really interesting. Is now, instead of like when you had digital cash get invented in the form of Bitcoin, and then it just kind of went to other cryptos, basically. If you wanted to live all off of crypto, you had to go to a cash only economy, digital cash only, but cash only. Whereas the people in the fiat world, they got their 401ks, they got their savings and their checking, they got all kinds of stuff going on. And you're just expecting them to degrade to a cash only existence in order to use crypto. Well, not anymore. Now you can get a full-fledged, it's starting to become a full-fledged financial system that's entirely decentralized, not just a decentralized single cryptocurrency or a few single ones. And so there's a fork of ThorChain, which is just like a copy of ThorChain called the Maya protocol that's almost exactly the same, except some tweaks to their design, but they support different chains, namely Kujira and Dash, that are not supported by ThorChain. And ThorWallet, again, tying back to this thing, this app supports both of those. And so you can trade all assets across all those. You could earn interest and do, investing and swap to stable coins instantly, all a non-custodial app, meaning you're holding onto your own money the entire time. And you're doing all this stuff. So it's actually like a full-fledged like bank account, but that you control all your own money and can kind of do this. They also have a it sounds like I'm reading an ad here, but I'm honestly just excited about the thing because
it sounds cool. I want to pause you.
Yes, go for it.
It says a Swiss bank account and a Visa card. Like, are you getting like a European bank account, like a traditional bank account?
I think that they do have that as well. That's not
And
something
is it a virtual Visa card or is it a
I think so. It's
okay. I
similar
had
to
to look
like the
into this
Spritz.
because I didn't know that ThorChain was doing anything like this. So and I know that you're
Well,
an ambassador with
the
Maya.
the names get tricky because ThorWallet is just a company name, and it uses the ThorChain protocol for a lot of its stuff, and it also uses the Maya protocol for a lot of stuff. And so ThorWallet is not
ThorWallet is
affiliated
different.
with
It's not
ThorChain
affiliated
at
with
all,
ThorChain. Okay, okay.
even
It's
though it
just using
uses the protocol.
that
Just
makes
to
sense.
you know,
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
yes, but the thing that piqued my interest in specifically this, because there's so many front ends that work for ThorChain and Maya out there. So many use ThorSwap. Again, welcome to the naming confusion world. There's El Dorado for the Maya protocol. There's DeFi Spot. There's Furs Wallet. There's so many other things like that. But the point is, I there's an on ramp. The biggest annoyance whenever I tell people, "Hey, why don't you start using crypto?" They're like, "Okay, how do I get some?" Well, you go to Coinbase, and then Coinbase wants their ID, and they take a selfie holding ID, and we're going to get back to you a few days, and then they lose interest. They never get into it. It's KYC is awful, like identity requirements, but the worst part about them is as a minimum barrier to entry to even try crypto. That's the worst part about it. And so um, there's an integration in ThorWallet that I believe even in the US, they allow you to buy a certain amount with a credit card with no KYC. I think it's like up to $2,000 a year. Again, not enough to do anything crazy, but enough to like play around with it and be like, oh yeah, this is cool. I like how this works. And then when they hit you up with the ID requirements to buy more, you're already like
You're
you already
more
built a
invested
habit.
in it. Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine at that. It's not fine. Let me pause myself. It's never KYC is never fine, but it's okay in that context.
I can only
So I
imagine a
could
commercial with you saying, "Make sure you do your KYC because it's fine."
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
Watch them like rip out that little thing and just be like, this guy's a scammer. But the point in all this thing is the we've finally hit a point in the world where you can live entirely in this crypto world. And like you can basically either earn all crypto from whatever source you want to find, or you can just buy it and use something like Thor Wallet as your bank account, where it's like, oh, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to earn interest on that. I'm going to move this coin over to that thing, blah, blah, blah. You do all that like finance stuff. And then you get Spritz and pay all your bills with that. And then most of your spending, you just don't want to be KYC. So you use BitRefill. And then some of your coins you have in your stuff, you swap to Dash into your Dash wallet. And then you go because it's just instant and you buy like BitRefill stuff and live all on that. You can live entirely on crypto, not just in terms of buying things, but paying bills, running your whole finance, all that kind of stuff, all in a world where you control all your own money. No one can confiscate it unless they literally find you and beat it out of you. So be careful with privacy on that stuff. But literally, that's the only way they can get it out of you and have no exposure to the dollar whatsoever. That's all possible today. And it was not possible a few years ago. Like when we last spoke, the whole Thor wallet, ThorChain, Maya stuff did not really, that wasn't there then. So
No, yeah, it wasn't.
Great leaps forward. We're entering some cool territory.
No, man, it's actually, I mean, I'm glad that we did this update because I mean, there's people that are talking about wanting to live on crypto. And I just think it's important that people have these options and are aware of what people can do, how it's become easier based off somebody that's experienced it. The last thing, without even trying to get into like a long discussion about it, is do you have a preference of what cryptocurrencies that you'll use to spend for your daily spending versus do you hodl any or do you look at them all as digital cash?
Yeah, so that's always like the tricky question because um, so many people view these things as so many different things, and anytime anyone even says, "Oh, I use this," or they think, "Oh, I'm going to buy a ton of it," and then it goes down. They're like, "You said you like that one, and I lost money." Like, listen, that's not what take what I'm speaking at face value for what it is, right? As far as the actual spending, like are there places that accept this and does it work cheaply and instantly? there's nothing that comes close to Dash right now. So that's like the majority of the stuff I use for spending. Now, I do use stuff like Monero and Zcash because of the advanced privacy stuff, but it's always a clunkier experience. And especially in the case of Zcash, unfortunately, there's just very few places you could actually use it. A lot of times I just end up having to like swap to Dash to just, just do that. And then as far as like the other stuff, like there's like when you get into the, ThorChain Maya ecosystem, you can just see, oh, what are some of these coins that based on trading volumes on this decentralized exchange that if you provide liquidity for are going to give you good rates of return. And then you're like, oh, this is good. I'm going to use some of this. This one's a good rate of return, but it's a shit coin. I don't like it. I don't trust it, whatever. I'm not going to do that one. And so I do just have like there's not with a strategy, by the way. I just playing around, right?
Right.
Because I don't know. I really don't know. So I'm playing around. I do have a few different liquidity positions on ThorChain and Maya. And there's some that are single-sided liquidity positions, which is just like a savings account. I have a couple of those to see how they do. And the cool thing about Maya is Maya has an extra token called the Maya token that basically if you hold that token, you get whatever percentage of 10% of all trading fees on the platform. So it's a lot easier to just like kind of like buy shares in a company. You're like, oh, I think that's going to go well. And you buy a bunch of like Maya tokens on, on the OTC markets. And then you get dividends from if they do well. And so there's like a few different things. And of course, I should tell people before you try to list Maya and stuff, it's the SEC probably wouldn't like that because, the SEC doesn't like anything cool. But
no, nothing that's going to help people to obfuscate. No.
Yeah. But the point is, I really think people should understand a lot of these things and do a lot of research into them and find opportunity where there is one or where there isn't one. ThorChain, I think Maya is a small exchange and just did, I got to actually look up some stats because, let's see. Because both of these platforms have done some really incredible numbers in the last couple days. So for example, my protocol has just been around for like a couple months, like on mainnet, like a 3-4 months. It's like barely just launched. And then it kind of hit a 16 million daily volume the other day, which is not bad for a fresh, nothing kind of protocol. I think that ThorChain in the last 24 hours, I think did about 50 billion in volume or something, or 50 billion in volume. I know ThorChain is in the top 3 dexes entirely as of like just this week at an incredible growth week. So like Uniswap is could get dethroned via Pancake Swap first, right? It's like Uniswap, Pancake Swap, and then ThorChain, I think, as far as volume. And because each of those ones are super targeted as far as their ecosystem, I think ThorChain has a much bigger upside potential for like growth because people can again, it's not just that little closed ecosystem. You trade anything across those. And so I think that I think that this is going to be the way of the future and like the next big boom. And unfortunately, the next thing that people are going to try to like crack down on, we're going to have to fight for to make sure that it stays online and stays decentralized and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while, I think cross-chain and interoperability are two of the things that we need to be focusing on. And I think there should be more attention on a DEX that's cross-chain versus one that's just staying within a specific blockchain. I mean, you may be able to switch over, but you can't necessarily like trade your Bitcoin for Ethereum directly without doing what you were saying before with wrapping coins, which makes the process that much more difficult. And sometimes that just deters people. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking out the app as far as what the ThorWallet is doing, if I'm saying it correctly with all the different Thor names. Yeah, ThorWallet. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. And again, I'll have the links down below for your affiliate links. And I encourage people to check those out. I want to get you back on the show either right before Christmas time, like mid-December or the beginning of next year. I want to try to put together some roundtables with some different people and have some discussions about a variety of things. And I would like to get your thoughts about some of the scaling stuff in the future, in regards to Bitcoin specifically, because when the ordinals came around, it made me have a different concept of like people trying to force scaling with the Bitcoin developers, where they're not trying to scale Bitcoin, but if people keep doing things like ordinals, stamps, and all these different things that apply pressure to the blockchain, they're going to have to do something, and it may force scaling. And Bitcoin in its current, and I'm using Bitcoin as the example, but Bitcoin in its current state is not a threat to the US dollar or the fiat system.
Exactly.
But a scaled Bitcoin would be.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and it's crazy when you start looking in, like, there's so much behind. When I mentioned the ordinals, there's so much behind that, like with the Luke Dash Jr. guy that was trying to put a filter in and block them, and seeing who this guy was, being one of the founders of Blockstream. So yeah, this is a conversation I would like to have. And then I would like to continue talking a little bit about living on crypto and talking about like specific cryptocurrencies, because like I've had the argument, and I'm setting this up for a future conversation, but I've had the argument with people, why would you want to spend something like Bitcoin that's scarce versus something like Dogecoin that is inflationary and there'll always be more? And I noticed that you had the beautiful Doji behind you, so I figured I would throw that in, because I think Doge, as even though it was created as a meme coin and not necessarily like any validity, it became valid. And to me, something like Doge is the perfect digital cash, because there was always going to be more. The scarcity factor, I think, comes into play. And that's where like something like the BlackRock ETF spot, you're never going to see a Dogecoin spot ETF. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The Dogecoin thing's been interesting because I've been sort of paying attention slightly here and there to Dogecoin for a while. And as soon as Elon tweeted about it, Dogecoin transaction volume decreased significantly after that whole frenzy. Fewer people were using Dogecoin after that because the fees are hard coded to like 1 Doge per transaction or something. And then when the price pumped, then all of a sudden it became super expensive to transact in Dogecoin. And I don't know what it is now, but I think it still is. And so a lot fewer people were using Dogecoin. A whole lot of companies started to like buy into this, like, oh, AMC theaters, we're going to take Dogecoin and all this kind of stuff, which power to them is great marketing, right? But I don't think they got on more than like a dozen Dogecoin sales, and that went away. Thorchain jumped on board to add Dogecoin, and kind of, I wouldn't say it flopped, but it didn't do super well as far as that, because they're like, oh, look, it's hot, everyone wants this. Now they don't. They just like the memes and like the gambling aspect of it, I guess.
That makes sense.
The thing is with like Bitcoin, I don't think the Bitcoin supply and scarcity is too much of an issue as far as the ability to spend it. It's the kind of congestion on the chain and the trade-offs you have to make when you scale. And it's kind of funny because I'm what one could call firmly in the big blocker camp. That being said, there's a lot of nuance with scaling. I don't know any single blockchain that has massively scaled, like to mass market levels successfully without some serious trade-offs. The thing is, the trade-offs that you need to reach like 10 million let's just say
right, you got to be a centralized blockchain, because there's that
or right trilemma. Now because right now because
which is what scalability, it's security. What is the trilemma?
Let me
scalability,
I have
security, and decentralization.
Yeah, I actually did a Twitter thread on this last week, which is I'll throw it in the private chat in case you want to throw it up. You don't have to.
What was the date of the thread? I got your Twitter pulled up.
Is the 8th of November, and about the scaling trilemma. And basically, the TLDR of that is the scaling trilemma doesn't really. It's more of what I would call like a quadrilemma, because it's decentralization, security, and scalability is kind of the way people tend to kind of roll that out. But scalability is actually split into two things, which is how much can you put through, but then also the kinds of features you can do. Because, for example, if you want to just do a basic payments chain, you're kind of you don't put big things on the blockchain anyway. It doesn't take a lot of data. You can actually scale. Justin Bonds of Cyber Capital, which is a crypto hedge fund, who's a blockchain researcher, I think he believes that you can scale a regular cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin style one to mass market levels without even doing anything weird like sharding, like data sharding. You can keep it decentralized, you can keep it secure, and you can make everyone have it. Where you start to run into the constraints is when you start to like add the multiplier, which is features, such as if you're doing a smart contract chain, that takes a lot more data. And then you start running into these trade-offs. Like that's why Solana is the way it is because they're trying to mass scale, remain relatively secure, and do a ton of like features, a ton of like computations on the chain and like all this kind of stuff. And that's where you run into the problems, where you try to do all four of those things. And like, for example, Nano is an interesting example of a crypto that has no fees and pretty high scalability. And I don't know about security. That's all I fight with them all the time on that. But there's the big trade-off is just how absolutely bare bones the data is. Like they don't have UTXOs or different addresses. It's just like very simple, the least amount of data possible per transaction. And then, of course, when you start doing stuff like zero knowledge proofs, initially they were so computationally intense that you couldn't even dream of doing this on a mobile device. And then the Halo proving system came around and made it so it's feasible to actually generate like fully encrypted crypto transactions on your mobile phone. And as a result, now Monero's thinking of adopting that technology in a couple of years and moving away from their ring signature and using Zcash tech instead. And so the point is, all like with the scalability stuff, I do think you can scale and be decentralized and secure and serve the entire world. But it's hard. Just be very honest. It's hard, and these are problems you have to solve through a lot of hard work and innovation and stuff like that. First off, it's hard. Second, there's always going to be some kind of trade-off. It's not the simple trilemma trade-off, because people use that as a dumb excuse to be like, well, I want decentralization, therefore I won't scale. Well, screw you. That's just not how it works, right? And you might have to do some trade-offs about like features. Like, okay, well, if we want the privacy feature and everyone to use this, then for the time being, until we find out how to make these proofs smaller, we're going to have to trade off one of these other things, for example. Right. Or, you do have to worry about those kinds of things. And it just does. The other thing, though, is it does seem like the best off-chain scaling solution is more cryptocurrencies. Like Litecoin has done phenomenally well in terms of transaction volume. They've gone up 5x or more for daily transaction volume since like the 2017 days, because they're the real Lightning Network. That's what people are using when Bitcoin isn't working, for the most part, is just they're using Litecoin instead. And Litecoin has more of a transaction capacity than Bitcoin, like 4 times, but like then there's just that. Yeah. And then Ethereum doesn't scale, so now there's all these L2s that are just other cryptos basically that people are scaling all their stuff on. So I do think that it'll become really hard to have a blockchain that does everything and is secure and scales to mass market levels and is decentralized. It'll be really hard to do like one chain to rule them all for that.
Yeah, so, and that's why I couldn't be. That's why I couldn't be a maximalist of any sort. Like I said, we're too new in this technology to know that there's going to be so much advancement that for me to pick a side right now would just be really immature. Man, we definitely got to, based off just the last few minutes of what you were saying, I definitely want to have another conversation with you and get into some, because you seem to be on top of some of the stuff that I'm not keeping track of, which is like the transactions, which blockchains are being utilized. Some of these, I didn't know that Monero was possibly you wanting to use some of the tech from Zcash. So I would definitely like to continue the conversation up. I'm going to remind people that I have links for everything that we talked about on today's show. I encourage people to follow you over on the Twitters. I don't like to call it the X, so we'll keep with Twitters.
Listen, they'll force us to change one of these days, but so far, as long as the URL says twitter.com/whatever,
it's because that's what I typed. Twitter. Yeah. I mean, if I typed in the X, it would pull up the X one. But I'm just staying old school, man. And then I'll have a link.
Real quick, just do that right now. Type x.com and see what it does, because I just did that.
If I type in just the letter X, it'll come up.
X.com, and now press enter, see what happens.
See that?
So yeah, press enter and see what happens. Oh, it turns into Twitter.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Once they stop calling it Twitter, maybe I will, but not until then.
Fuck it. Yeah. Make sure you're following Joel over on Twitter, not X. Make sure you're checking out the Digital Cash YouTube channel and as well the Odyssey channel. And I'll have links down below for the Spritz, for BitRefill, and for the ThorWallet. So you guys can check all that out, man. You got any final thoughts before we wrap things up, man?
Yeah. Fiat is a scam. Your phone is spying on you. Live on crypto before it's too late. We only have one shot at this. What will our children ask us of what we did when we could have changed everything for their future?
Or maybe just don't have children.
Someone's little cretins are going to be asking.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if I was a child growing up in the future, I think I would be questioning, like, hey, how did we get here? Like, this is your fault. Like, when did you sign up? Why did you do this? Why didn't you fight against it? Yeah, I think we're at that point, man. So I really appreciate your time, my friend. Bear with me one second while I do the wrap up. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I have links down below for everything we talked about on today's show. Make sure you subscribe here at Rice Crypto. Follow my other channel, Rice Against the Grain. And before we end things, I want to leave you with a little positivity. I encourage you, as always, to be a blessing to others. Treat people how you want to be treated. Be the glitch that you want to see in the matrix. Be the change that you want to see in this world. And until next time, practice change.